race up and turn a station.
Well, here we are streaming live for the love of words, flow. The only reason I'm starting ahead of Bill is because I got to go back down and do the stage at the other place. So I'm just going to set the mood and the mode and all that other stuff and start the show and have this great conversation with, oh, he's not here yet. That's okay. I don't need to. We have some new people tonight. We have some older people. Well, not older people. Well, we have older people as opposed to old people. And when we say, like, old or new, right? Oh, my God. The word old. Hey, those lights on the side are off. Damn. That takes away part of the decorum.
Did you mean seasoned veterans of the
Spoken word, yes.
spoken word? Well,
Or of the written word, because, you know, long before it's spoken, it's written, usually. Or it's spoken and then written down,
well, that's true.
if you're a songwriter.
They would, well, or storytellers, and someone would sit there and write it down because it was a verbal tradition
Was it?
in some cultures.
Oh.
They didn't trust the writing, or they didn't have the writing, or, my God, have you seen those?
No, neither is God. Or he'd have cleaned them.
They hang around in my pouch all day. They get quite dusty.
Do they?
Yeah. So how are things going? How many more days
We're on day
left?
33, 286th show right now.
Wow, that's incredible.
It actually is.
It
I will
really is.
bow to that. I will accept all accolades to that.
Good, good.
But I enjoy it. And the only problem I have is that now that we're getting into a fine swing of things, it's time to stop.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you just get going good.
Yeah, Al Howie used to do that. He used to get into marathon, and matter of fact, his big thing was he ran the Vancouver Marathon,
Yeah.
and then he ran up to Prince George to enter the Prince George Marathon.
No way. That's incredible.
You know why?
Because
You'll like this.
Okay, good.
It made him forget about his girlfriend.
Wow.
He had a terrible split up, and so he found out if he ran, he didn't think about her.
Oh. Wow.
So he took up running, and then I guess he thought a lot about her, so he tried not to think about her as much as possible, so he ran forever.
Right.
But then he became diabetic because you have to compensate when you expend that much energy.
To eat properly.
You have to eat things to compensate for it. It's like you have to ingest certain words just for your diet, vocabulary diet. And you're going to do that tonight, aren't you?
Ingest or
Or give us words to digest. Ingest. Oh no, not the snip. No. Where are you going to put that?
If you're feeling a little
Are you going to
tired,
are you going to speak in a high voice?
we could bring out the what are they called?
That's a nipple clip. Watch out.
Oh, well. You need a boost? I'm a toe guy. I can give you a boost.
We're starting off weird, aren't we?
Oh, it's weird, yeah. It's
No,
supposed to be
no.
the heat.
There's
What's
some
going
nice
on
people
over
here tonight.
There's a few people, yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
They
but there's some
came
nice
along.
people.
Yeah, some nice people.
Yeah.
Lovely people.
It's yours. Take it away.
Okay, thanks.
Phil Levity.
Mr. Longevity John, thank you. And thanks for all your hard work and your crew. Ongoing, 6 more days. Wow. Whoa. Incredible. I was talking about this book the other day because I just picked it up, and which one is it? Where does it fall in the Emily Carr life history? The Book of Small. Huh. Anyway, I'll read a little excerpt from it. I don't know. It's so it feels stiff and new. It's nice. Oh yeah. To Ira Dilworth. I think maybe they're short stories. All our Sundays were exactly alike. They began on Saturday night after Bong the China boy had washed up and gone away, after our toys, dolls, and books All but the Peep of Day and Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress had been stored away in drawers and boxes till Monday, and every Bible and prayer book in the house was puffing itself out, looking more important every minute. Then the clothes horse came galloping into the kitchen and straddled round the stove, inviting our clean clothes to mount and be aired. The enormous wooden tub that looked half coffin and half baby bath was set in the middle of the kitchen floor, with a rag mat for dripping on laid close beside it. The great iron soup pot, the copper wash boiler, and several kettles covered the top of the stove, and big sister Dee Dee filled them by working the kitchen pump handle furiously. It was a sad old pump and always groaned several times before it poured. Dee Dee got the brown Windsor soap, heated the towels, and put on a thick white apron with a bib. Mother unbuttoned us, and by that time the pots and the kettle were steaming. Dee Dee scrubbed hard. If you wriggled, the flat of the long-handled tin dipper came down spankety on your skin. As soon as each child was bathed, Dee Dee took it pick-a-back and rushed it upstairs through the cold house. We were allowed to say our prayers kneeling in bed on Saturday night, steamy, brown, Windsory prayers. Then we cuddled down and tumbled very comfortably into Sunday. At 7 o'clock, Father stood beside our bed and said, rise up, it's Sunday, children." He need not have told us. We knew Father's Sunday smell. Wright's coal tar soap and camphor. Father had a splendid chest of camphor wood, which had come from England round the Horn in a sailing ship with him. His clean clothes lived in it, and on Sunday he was very camphory. The chest was high and very heavy. It had brass handles and wooden knobs. The top let down as a writing desk with pigeonholes. Below there were little drawers for handkerchiefs and collars and long drawers for clothes. On top of the chest stood Father's locked desk for papers. The key of it was on his ring with lots of others. This desk had a secret drawer and a brass plate with R.H. Carr engraved on it. On top of the desk stood the little Dutchman, a china figure with a head that took off and a stomach full of little candies like colored hailstones. If we had been very good all week, we got hailstones Sunday morning. Final prayers were uppish with big words on Sunday. Reverend, awful words that only God and Father understood. Different time. Anyway, I'm excited to read some more Emily Carr. Murray has returned. Murray, do you want to come up and share with us? Welcome, everybody, and way to go in surviving the heat. It's been a quite hellacious couple of weeks. A little better today.
Oh, thank you. I'll just start with a little short story that, not a short story written, but relating an incident that occurred today. I had to go and help my son move some. There we are. There we go. Yeah. My son, he's 15 and he has this girlfriend. They were been going out lately, and he made this this thing for her, which I was supposed to carry. It was a Jell-O mold that he used, and he made this thing out of Jell-O for his girlfriend for her birthday, and so the thing is, this was a Jell-O mold of Jesus, and so it was it was in the fridge, and he had cycled over to his girlfriend's place, and I had to carry this Jell-O mold over to his girlfriend's place in the back of the van. So I got to deliver Jesus today, and Jesus was quite. It was the jiggly Jesus who jiggled all the way. It was red. Jesus was red, and he jiggled all the way over there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, it was my story for the day. I'm gonna just been trying to find some poems I was gonna read tonight, and I started working on a few short ones. I got a couple of short ones and then some longer ones here, a couple of longer ones, but they're not too long. I'll just quickly skip through into these. Yeah. I feel kind of awkward sitting down. I wonder if I could just stand up to. I kind of like prefer you standing up if I could just crank this up here and. Yeah. That's better. Yeah. Yeah. Winter stone. This rock, my winter stone, frozen in cold tectonic time, is where I chip and crack a secret cave into my igneous ear. This rock, my winter stone, lithic fragment of a broken mind, calls back its blood beyond the twisting sky into the distant sun, where one day this rock will flow like rivers of children into a mineral sea. The river. My serenity no more is serene. My courage has grown cold. I've never known any wisdom nor comfort from these old beliefs that mar my wayward mind, how this could be or that. Now indifference falls like leaves on the rusty scales of time, and dry blow the hollow winds. This blue of sky and golden leaf, but passing colors in a silty river from which I fill my hat to quench this white ash flame. BC Hydra. I'm not sure why I called it that. Hydroelectric love. The alcohol was responsible for the spotlight of the helicopter at night. Take flight, get it right. Why, oh why? Make room, shove over. This is what you came for. The long night surfing on dark waves under stars, surfing. This thing you found, we were all taken aback. You see how it is. Right turn, go north, they said. Go into the mosquito. Tear, break branches, sulk into yourself, arms crossed into the into. Check his room, they said, he has a stash. The key no longer works, all the doors are open, and no one stays here anymore. They chop through the broken air, fire waves shimmer, the thrust of heat pushes us back. The halls are empty, ashes on the floor. A shout outside awoke him. Do you know about adrenaline? I cannot find the point of entry. Are you sure? Listen to the humming, the great helicopter chopping, air breaking, leave taking, surfs up and rough tonight. Want some sandwich? So much noise. I had something earlier. How things disappear. Perceptual. Looking into the weeds underwater, they are no longer weeds. Things emerge I hadn't seen before. Seeing takes time. How that curves the light and bends. More voices. Above the humming, the screens flicker, all screens, camera going, noise on the street outside. The night trembles and then settles. Each moment like a seismic graph, up, spike, needle, and down, slow, low, flow, flat line slips down. Where were you when you heard this? All that destruction. Alcohol was part of it, my secrecy, how it made my emotions wilder, my passions more present, how it excited and destroyed me and those I loved. Too late now. All's gone what we had. Seeing it from the inside, it looks different. When I walk out onto the stage, it's a different world, a strange, free world. Words come out of nowhere. There is no gap. Our minds join together, our neurons hold hands, and we all think one thought for a moment. Then it's gone again. The presence we felt is gone, and there's an emptiness. What was it, anyway? This is a fun one to read. It's called Pounding Sun in the Nails. I'll try and read it the way it should be read here. Pounding sun in the nails, my brain in bed with my toes, the slip stream splashes in my lip, cream mashes, makes mess in my pocket. I hammer sore hiccups over lace. I trace your lines, copy your thoughts in my best broken pencil, smudging art into mashed potatoes, slip in the butter, my brain in your splashes, mashes your lips in cream. By the stream we dream, pounding sun in the nails. Upside down I hang, dangling in what? Air. I breathe, I float, my knees hook the tang of wheat, growing in dreams of cats, of crows. Where's my hammer? Crest of sun, copper light on my chest. As your hands run through the sand, my legs still stand in fields of tomatoes. We dig up tubers as turbulent foil shatters. The shimmer of pre-dawn lake dips her clothes in chocolate, paints raspberry sauce for 3 toes, makes me feel the edge as we grind. Sparks fly, in oil we lie, dripping, gripping, but slipping into the stars of galaxy. You bend my time like gravity. I take you like a rainbow into my fingernails. I sweep. The plum's ontology makes us weep for perfect fruit. Eat spiders on Tuesdays. Wednesdays is whoa, man, don't go near her. Pine cones are perfect, our perfect point to the past. Draw me a picture, color it with threads from your knitting. I pull my hands. A few hairs hardly matter if it all ends in butterfly pajamas, crumbling crackers as chickens cry and wind whistle weeds dry. Goodbye, goodbye to our little thistle song. And the last one I'll read is just a fun one I did recently. It's called Monday Evening in July. We are but bags of chemistry. Whole mountainsides of English poetry slough off into the canyon below. My nakedness grows fat like a Baroque painting. Every morning I hear him howl in the parking lot. Will this summer heat never end? My battery no longer cares. I've stuck my computer into the refrigerator. When was the last time you really listened to Aida? The children picked flowers for me, mostly thistles and dry grass. The snake has escaped its glass container. Cats or quails, you decide. After some days, nothing is ever the same. I could have predicted you'd drink the rest of the box. After Sophocles and Ginsberg, there was only Patrick Lane. I wish I had never tried to write poetry. Now it's shotguns and Thompson and the red, red wine. If you blow into the box, it squirts more out. Thank you very much.
Would you rather sit, do you think?
Wow, it's different to be up here with lights. Usually when I'm up here, I have a vacuum with me.
Don't worry about the mic.
Thank you.
And I've forgotten your last name, so we're not near Facebook.
Tate.
Tate?
Tate.
Tate, sorry, I knew that. Lisa Tate, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, this is my first time coming to a spoken word night. I have 3 poems I'd like to share with you. The first one I wrote in 2006, and several years later it was performed as a feature in the Vagina Monologues. I call it Caged Bird. Isolated by his ignorance, pushed aside by his lack of ability to see beyond greed, raped by the loneliness of the company of a man with no dimension, crucified by the division he inflicts with his ideals of working together. He calls this love. This blatant manipulation of who, what, when, how, he calls this love. This oppressive shield of control that he believes hides the insecurities he denies he has. He thinks I'm beautiful, lying still on the bottom of this cage. He thinks my wings look pretty, folded tight against my body and aching from never having stretched them. He likes it when I sing, as long as it is quiet and there's no one to hear me, because it is when they hear my voice that he realizes what he's got to lose, and then he drapes a veil over the bars of this abyss he calls love. That was hard to get through. The second poem I'd like to read for you I call The Dig. I choose to be an archaeologist of circumstance. With methodical preciseness, I dig through the ruins of my history. Using careful measure, I dissect through the bones of my courage. The last poem that I'd like to share with you, I wrote last year after my husband died. I have it written on the wall beside my bed. It is my morning greeting and it is my evening prayer. I call it Rise. I am the sun and the moon to a small boy. There is no time to wallow. Morning comes and night follows, so I must rise. In these days that echo with woulda, shoulda, never was, I am the consistent factor. Gardens grow in the rich soil of such decay. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And it wasn't so bad, eh? Kind of the lights, blur it all out, but yeah, you're good. Good putting your eyes forward. Did you see your piece performed when they came through here? Yeah, were you happy with it? Nice. Yeah, it's a good piece. Thank you. Mr. French, what are you doing there, you and your suave mustache? Would you like to come and read? Okay. Oh, it's Bob! Yay, Bob!
Yeah, so I went to a party on Saturday, and it was at like a intentional living collective space kind of thing, and there was like, what are they? Mandalas on the wall and tie-dye all over the place and all that jazz. And I met a fellow there who had completely opposing views that I did. Like, he was gonna join the army, and he was talking extensively about it and how he kills bullfrogs, and then going abroad and killing people is just kind of like the next step for him. Yeah, and it was one of those situations where, like, to debate with someone, typically you're debating like a small something, like a nuance, but with this fellow, like, I couldn't even debate with him because it was so far from my own point of view that it was just astounding. And I always forget that people, it sounds terrible, but that people like that exist, like that far outside of my own ideology. So it was really refreshing in a sense. But yeah, it was baffling. So I wrote about that, because we're not allowed to talk about him anymore, because Rachel doesn't really agree with him. Yeah. Thank you. It's art therapy. Yeah, so it's called SS Etc. On weekend evenings, he took aim at American bullfrogs. With a few friends, a six-pack, and a pellet gun, he'd pick one off and go in search of others, because they were evasive and went against the nature of this land. And he shot them down as one would an obvious threat. And enlisted, in 2 months he'll head to boot camp, and in another 2 he'll be abroad, a representative of our native land, who for decades onward will have to apologize for. And the dude bumps cigarettes as if I'm well heeled and have some to spare. And though his eyes are concentrated, His core pivots on a rusty spindle with the accumulation of drinks he's had. And for an intervention I've yet to plan, I try not to spook him. Listening for soft spots and repeated words, I have an eye on the jugular. But the party's too loud and the casual cigarette conversation doesn't exactly warrant even the concept of conversion. As not so far away, the clock chimes 2 times at City Hall, and time carries on, preparing words for yesterday's mistakes. We were talking last week about spite, and that actually didn't have that much spite in it. I thought it was going to be more, but yeah, I guess I could write a part 2 or something. Like after a day, I would say. Yeah, once again, I'd like to create sort of like a scarecrow of someone and then shoot them down. Also, I didn't want to sound like a protest song. Like, there's great protest songs, but I just can't do it. Like, just the ideology I don't have. I think it's because I'm a little bit of a nihilist. But yeah, maybe I'll work on it. I don't know. It's good though because I actually got my diploma in the mail today for being done school. So I've actually had time to write again, which is really nice. So these are all new things. But I'm really rusty, so maybe I need to like sharpen the skills before I take aim. Yeah, it's been weird. Because I was super stressed out for the last year with like assignments and things to do, and now I have nothing to do. So it's an expansive afternoon, which is kind of what this is about, I guess. It's Backslider. So today, seemingly content, nursing a hangover into adolescence, with scented water as a wet nurse, with nothing on my hands but time and half a pack of cigarettes. Still, I believe in meaning, like a backsider believes in God, resplendent in obscurity and wrath, and hellborn. Yeah, they're all still a little bit rough. I'm just going to read one more and then I'll be done. Oh, yeah, I know, the whipping braids. So yeah, I finished my practicum a little while ago, and my last day was really, really anticlimactic. It was about 5 hours in the hospital, in the waiting room, because one of the patients had to, like, this operation. So yeah, and it was weird because I was there with my mentor, and like the whole time throughout the practicum, we didn't really talk about anything personal. It was like highfalutin stuff about mental illness and so forth, and then we had this 5-hour-long delay, so we actually got down to like the nitty-gritty of personal stuff for the first time, and then I didn't see him again. I'm supposed to meet up with him for beer or coffee in a little while, but it was still like a weird send-off. But yeah, he kind of got me to thinking, I guess. And yeah, this is a long one, so it'll be the last. Yeah. This career came to me like a candy store promise. So in the reception area of Emerge, Jeff asked me about my upbringing, and naturally I brought you up. Principal, teacher, and president of some obscure federation, which he said made sense as I was of similar ilk. Then I mentioned Spud, a linesman with hydro, a worker by trade, who cooked meals, baked potatoes, canned peas, and a side of meats, unknowingly undoing the entire traditional notion of what it meant to be a good man, as if it was just something he daily did, dismantling the time's privilege with every dish he did. With a world's worth of waiting, we sat in the Emerge reception, and he asked me about you, and I replied as accurate as I could. A choice pair I would never discard, an odd couple for rural Ontario. And like him, I could see how well equipped I was by simply what brought me into being. But anyhow, this message is getting a little bit too long to comprehend and a little bit too complicated. Nonetheless, unerring love through faulty reception for you. 3 time zones away, devotion and indescribable affection for you. Seraphims and monuments for you. with cenotaphs held in picture frames for your prodigal son. Still, a phone call every once in a while you said would suffice. Thank you.
So do you think you'll have occasion to continue the friendship with your mentor after laying yourself open a bit? That's good, eh? Yeah. The interesting thought about the first one, when you totally disagree with someone or dislike, that's probably, I'm sure they would say, that's where we learn the most. And look at you going into the profession where you'll be required to try and assist people that you maybe don't like or agree with. So that'll be very tricky. As empathy is, a good tool, but what if you can't get to their place of existence, or what are the tools that you use then? I don't know. I have often dreamt of becoming an American bullfrog hunter, because I eat meat and I think, well, I've never learned to do it myself, kill a chicken, so I thought I could start with bullfrogs because they're invasive and they're edible. But I, unlike your new acquaintance there, I couldn't see moving on to humans. So, but the American bullfrogs, that's a real problem. And yeah, interesting that those are the guys that are willing to get out there and shoot their. It's a bit wacky though, isn't it? Yes. Mahalia, do you want to read something? Gray, did you bring something? No. Rachel has her book open. She wants to read. Oh, go! Oh, that was close. Keith, would you like to come and share something with us? No. There's no default there. We were looking forward to it. Just people are feeling observant, I think, after all this heat.
Hi, excuse me. I really had nothing planned here to say or do, which always scares me if I'm on the way here, because then I'm afraid I'll do something really stupid. Usually if I have anything in mind, it might be one super benign type thing, and then something maybe, or something in the middle, and then something that could possibly get, have me banned or something from here. But I'll just, Murray was reading some of his always awesome poetry, which I haven't heard for about 2 years or something. And at one point he started to seem to almost rap a little bit, which got me just thinking I was just going to recycle something here, which is a few years back. I don't like rap, mostly. I don't like, it's not so much these days, but early on especially, and still, there's a lot of misogyny, a lot of homophobia, a lot of stuff that, in most other formats wouldn't go over too big, as opposed to selling millions and millions of copies. So I did write 2 or 3 rap songs at the time, little tunes that were, I thought of as sort of a parody on the genre. But I'll just do one short one, which I called classical rap. It's about the god of the penis, the god Penicius. And I'm going to slow it down from like 78 to about 33, just partly because, I'm always nervous if I'm up here. But Yo, I'm a white boy, I'm the god Penicius. Used to hang out with that dude Ulysses. He was homo. When he made a pass, I wouldn't let him get into my ass. I head on down to the Coliseum, up in the grandstand. Yo, I see him. I'm hanging out, just hoping he'll miss me. Next thing I know, the dude's trying to kiss me. I say, I'm putting a stop to this. I'll head on up to the Acropolis and find a goddess. But that bitch had a husband and he caught us. And now I'm just a myth because he shot us. Yo, I'm a white boy, I'm the god Penicius, hanging around on Mount Olympus. Ho! There's so much bait out there these days. There's just bait everywhere for rage and frustration and anger. And my bait probably wouldn't be what some of yours might be, or what you might think that mine might be, or something. I'm not even going to get into that topic, because when we start talking, if I start taking the bait while I'm up here, it's going to get ugly. I'm just going to read a poem that was written a few years back by, I feel terrible that I can't remember his name. Then I'm going to get down from here and, I hope the author's name is right here. I will find it. It's really not cool to be reading a poem without the author's name. I can almost remember it. It's called Letter to the Dead. I think it was written in 2000. And before I leave tonight, I'll try, without butting in on anyone else, but I'll try to get you the name. It's called Letter to the Dead. Friends, nothing has changed in essence. Wages don't cover expenses. Wars persist without end, and there are new and terrible viruses beyond the advances of medicine. From time to time, a neighbor falls dead over questions of love. There are interesting films, it is true, and, as always, voluptuous women seducing us with their mouths and legs. But in matters of love, we haven't invented a single position that's new. Some astronauts stay in space 6 months or more, testing equipment and solitude. In each Olympics, new records are predicted, and in the countries, social advances and setbacks. But not a single bird has changed its song with the times. We put on Greek tragedies, reread Don Quixote, and spring arrives on time each year. Some habitats, rivers, and forests are lost. Nobody sits in front of his house anymore or takes in the breezes of afternoon. But we have amazing computers that keep us from thinking. On the disappearance of the dinosaurs and the formation of galaxies, we have no new knowledge. Clothes come and go with the fashions. Strong governments fall, others rise, countries are divided, and the ants and the bees continue faithful to their work. Nothing has changed in essence. We sing congratulations at parties, argue football on street corners, die in senseless disasters, and from time to time one of us looks at the star-filled sky with the same amazement we had when we looked at caves. And each generation, full of itself, continues to think that it lives at the summit of history. Here's the author. Yeah, written in 2000 by Afonso Romano di Santana. Thank you.
Thank you for the rap too. I think. What about do you like the the good hip hop, like socially relevant hip hop, with kind of jazz underpinnings, versus rude rap? There's a lot of amazing material out there. He's a good writer, eh? Drake, yeah. Well, Robert, you do have something for us? Miscellany, nice. Do you want to stit or sand? Sand or stit?
Pum, pum, pum. Can you hear? Okay, I can hear. Well, so I got out my old book from the 1960s or 70s, The Maple Laugh Forever, Anthology of Canadian Comic Poetry. I wish somebody would do a new one. A while ago. Like decades. But still people in it we know. 68. Bum, bum, bum. Oh yeah, I learned something about hockey gear from this one. It's called Once is Too Many. I only forgot to wear my can once. That was enough. So can, for you guys who are not hockey players, is the protective device in your crotch if you're a hockey player. I guess it's hard plastic or metal. So you wear that if you're wise, but this guy, he forgot once. It was one time over in Glenavon. I went out for my first shift, and you know how when you're waiting for the drop of the puck, you lean over and rest your stick across your can. Well, this time all I could feel is wide open spaces in the family jewels. But I'm not going to skate back to the bench, so I figure I'll get by for this shift anyways. Well, I'm all over the ice like a madman's shit, and I chase the puck into their corner and pass it back to Brian on defense and head for the net to screen the goalie. When I look back to the point, sure as God's got sandals, Brian's just blasted one, crotch high. Not to worry, I figure. I'll just jump and let it cruise between my legs. Well, I couldn't have timed it more perfect. It was just like a 3-ball combination, except 2 of them were damn near my throat while the puck caroms into the net like snot off a doorknob. Was I pleased? Is the Pope married? So that's the hockey story. And this is kind of cool too. This is by Glenn Storstad. That writer, the previous one was Steven Scriver. This is another guy sport pool table. So it's called The Hustlers. He and his buddy were hustling, I guess, winning a lot. But then this didn't look like such a good idea. Forey and I have held the pool table at the Jan Lake bar for too long now. It's plain to see. There are mutters, hard glances, begrudged dollar bills stacked on our table, an untidy pile while we reel in our fortune like sailors on shore leave. But Ernie has lost twice already to us, and now, prompted by 2 whites, slams the cue ball into a pocket, a move that is far from friendly, knowing that his opponent must hit the black ball shooting up and down using one of the sloppy cushions or lose the game. I must face this ploy, and I know it's no joke. Not just a shot to leave me tough. It's a warning to Forey and me that we've been here long enough and we'd be wise to pack it in. Every eye in the place is on me to see how well we've paid attention, and the sudden silence is deafening as I step to the table to shoot. So I listen carefully and miss the shot. There's a happy explosion of table talk. We pay off Ernie and his partner, and Ernie averts our eyes. He's had more satisfying victories. But we've learned so well, and like the sight of our own blood so little, that we take our stack of ones and buy beer, send it around to the tables of losers, and much more healthy hum fills the smoky air when we sit down. And we know we won't have to listen for footsteps behind us when we leave. Now I got a couple others. I think Leonard is up next. Where's that big sheet where I had them all written? Yeah. I certainly apologize for people who read before I came. I'm very embarrassed. I just had it stuck in my mind that I could finish the concert at 39 days and come here at 8 o'clock. But now we start at 7:30. Destiny by Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen contemplates his destiny some years back. It's about this long. I want your warm body to disappear politely and leave me alone in the bath, because I want to consider my destiny. Destiny, why do you find me in this bathtub, idle, alone, unwashed, without even the intention of washing, except at the last moment? Why don't you find me at the top of a telephone pole, repairing the lines from city to city? Why don't you find me riding a horse through Cuba, a giant of a man with a red machete? Why don't you find me explaining machines to underprivileged pupils, Negroid Spaniards? Happy is not a course in creative writing. Happy that it's not a course in creative writing. Come back here, little warm body. It's time for another day. Destiny has fled, and I settle for you, who found me staring at you in a store one afternoon 4 years ago and slept with me every night since. How do you find my sailor eyes after all this time? Am I what you expected? Are we together too much? Did destiny shy at the double Turkish towel, our knowledge of each other's skin, our love, which is a proverb on the block, our agreement that in matters spiritual, I should be the man of destiny, and you should be the woman of the house? How come I panic and can't find my well-planned list? There's one more, which is longer, but it has a sort of rhythm to it. Well, I can't leave it now. Here's the Ballad of Absent Mare. You remember we read that a little while ago. There we go. So this one's called Transport, and it's by Lionel Kearns. Except for Cohen, these are all people I don't know, and I don't know if this was the peak of their poetry writing, or the end of their career, or if they've risen up and got more recognized than I didn't realize. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages about a great project a fellow called Charlie had, which got him very rich, and then he had to switch, and then he got rewarded when he entered politics. The political style is a little bit dated maybe, but I think it's exactly like the situation that we have today. Anyway, the exciting bit is about sex. Transport. When Charlie was old enough to get his driver's license, he bought an old Chevy sedan, set up Betty, his girlfriend, in the back seat for $3 a crack among his school chums. And after a while, he started to get a few outside customers as well. And this gave him the idea of trading the jalopy in on a used hearse, a move which just happened to coincide with a new morality campaign brought in by the city council, the effect of which closed down most of the existing cat houses for some months. And wow, business boomed for Charlie, to such an extent that soon he'd got enough financial backing to establish a citywide fleet of lay-on-the-way cars, or to use the vulgar term, whore hearses. Each of them a big shiny black caddy with uniformed driver and foam mattress and miniature bar. And Charlie had all the cars equipped with two-way radios so that central office could dispatch them to your door within minutes of a call. And first all the action took place at night, but after Charlie switched to another public relations firm, the thing really began to catch on with businessmen ordering Charlie's cars to get to luncheon appointments or executive conferences so that they could screw away their tensions without feeling guilty about losing time. Eventually, Charlie cashed in on the commuter market in all the major cities, and after introducing special rates for short interurban hops, he ended with a vast network of mobile bordellos speeding from coast to coast across the nation. As you probably recall, Charlie's letterhead used to bear a flying ram encircled by the motto, "Come as you go and arrive satisfied." Yes, Charlie's played it smart and made a pile while it lasted, because in those days no one had thought of legislating against, for example, keeping a disorderly automobile. Though since Charlie got into a scrape for having red lights on top of his vehicles instead of at the rear. But strangely enough, Charlie's real trouble came from the professional brotherhood of smiling morticians, who were being increasingly plagued by people who would flag down funeral processions and try to climb in with the stiff. As could be expected with that kind of opposition, the enactment of stringent anti-sex road laws finally put an end to the era of the traveling orgasm. But by that time, Charlie had already sold out and invested in the munitions industry, where profits were 10 times as high and future unequivocally secure, because times haven't changed, like in that other poem, Keith's poem. After that, Charlie found himself rich enough to slip easily into high-level politics. I suppose it was still the spirit of public service which prompted him. And today, few people remember the imagination and drive that characterized his youth. Though I've got a hunch it was a kind of a tribute to Charlie's remarkable background that the Prime Minister first made him Ministry of Transport before switching him to Ministry of Defense. And incidentally, I've heard it said that even today, old Charlie shows a passing interest in the social as well as the military potential of helicopters and hovercraft. That's all.
So, what were you able to unpack all your books in that tiny house that we made for you? And now that you have limited shelf space, and what did you do with all your? Oh, that's hard, isn't it?
Oh, I just thought of something I should have said when I was at the mic.
What's that?
About the rapping and the misogyny.
Oh, right.
Reading a book by a Manitoban activist and broadcaster, and I think he's become a politician. Bob Canoe, and he's head of NDP, I think.
Ooh.
After being quite a conspicuous character, he took this up. And now he's being called down for some of his old misogynist rap music.
Oh dear.
In fact, he was open about it, and he said, I was a bad boy when I grew up. I went to residential school. No, he had some
Mm-hmm.
family stuff. It got mean and immature, and he went through stages.
Mm-hmm.
But it's come back to him because of that misogynist rap.
Seems like you can't grow up and apologize and move on if you're a politician. Yeah. Keith, what? Go ahead. Yeah, open forum. You have nothing against it? Hmm. Huh. Hmm. Nice, nice. Introduced Leonard Sumner on the. Did you guys go to the festival? I didn't see you. You were there. Did I see you? No. You didn't see him. Had you known him from Winnipeg? Was he around when you were living there? No, he's younger than that probably. Well, young means 35, I guess. Yeah. But he had. Oh gosh, could it be him? Maybe. He had started out as a hip hop artist and sort of morphed into a singer songwriter. So he did some of his rap, which was really really quite good. But it's good to hear that same thing that he had as a native young man. He had grown up quite angry and had to kind of work through that and realize that he was kind of saying that, realizing that that anger wasn't the most productive tool for getting across the message. Yeah. Also introduced Logan Stats, who's from my hometown. You were there for that one. His father, yes, yeah, who was Indonesian, and so his mother must have been from Six Nations, yeah. But yeah, that was weird, to meet and to hear that it's still a ghost town, the place that I'm from, and that a lot of it is the cultural tension still present. Well, yeah, that was an interesting weekend, really, for some. What about Mr. Keelahan? Is he still writing good songs? Is he resting on his laurels, or is he?
I couldn't actually tell. There were a couple of songs that weren't the old good ones.
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't say these are my new ones.
Right. Hmm.
Apparently he took time off from his career.
Right. He's been doing it a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good writer, though.
Good writer. He's good with young people.
Mm-hmm.
Helps support the youth. Train them up in songwriting.
Hmm.
It's too bad he wasn't around for the whole thing. We would have got more into the first one.
Yes. I thought that was interesting about Logan, too. He was saying that because he as well had gone through that very angry period, that he was, one of the things he was doing as a writer and an artist and a man of that age was giving back time to teenagers who were in peril with drugs on the res and, spending time with them, mentoring. So it's interesting, the turnaround. Before we go to happy hour, so I know you're all hungry for words, hungry for food. What do you guys do in the summer? Do you read as much? I have trouble. I have this great little book by Maya Angelou, and I've read the same paragraph about 30 times, I think, because it's hot at night, and you pull it out, and I always lose the place, and I have to find it again. Then I start into the same thing, and then I'm like, which is kind of an interesting process, but I just can't get a handle on reading the way I do in colder months. Is that common for people, or some of you just read no matter what the temperature? Do we have sensitive summer readers out there? Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm longing to get into something, but I can't stay coherent long enough. Light summer reading, just go. Oh, true. So maybe just change your diet slightly. Right. Oh, okay. There you go. I should be reading books like that, anthologies, and things you could take smaller bites out of, perhaps. All right, one of my favorite little books, Truman Capote, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Anybody a student of the movies? The movie, Philip Seymour Hoffman? Who else played him in the last few years? There's been a couple of good portraits. Maybe that was the most notable. I am always drawn back to places where I have lived, the houses and their neighborhoods. For instance, there's a brownstone in the East 70s where, during the early years of the war, I had my first New York apartment. It was one room crowded with attic furniture, a sofa and fat chairs upholstered in that itchy, particular red velvet that one associates with hot days on a train. The walls were stucco and a color rather like tobacco spit. Everywhere, in the bathroom too, there were prints of Roman ruins, freckled brown with age. The single window looked out on a fire escape. Even so, my spirits heightened whenever I felt in my pocket the key to this apartment with all its gloom. It was still a place of my own, the first, and my books were there, and jars of pencils to sharpen. Everything I needed, so I felt, to become the writer I wanted to be. It never occurred to me in those days to write about Holly Golightly, and probably it would not now, except for a conversation I had with Joe Bell that set the whole memory of her in motion again. Holly Golightly had been a tenant in the old brownstone. She'd occupied the apartment below mine. As for Joe Bell, he ran a bar around the corner on Lexington Avenue. He still does. Both Holly and I used to go there 6-7 times a day, not for a drink, not always, but to make telephone calls. During the war, a private telephone was hard to come by. Moreover, Joe Bell was good about taking messages, which in Holly's case was no small favor, for she had a tremendous many. Of course, this was a long time ago, and until last week I hadn't seen Joe Bell in several years. Off and on we kept in touch, and occasionally I'd stop by his bar when passing through the neighborhood. But actually we'd never been strong friends, except in as much as we were both friends of Holly Golightly. Joe Bell hasn't an easy nature. He admits it himself. He says it's because he's a bachelor and has a sour stomach. Take care, boys. Anyone who knows him will tell you he's a hard man to talk to. Impossible if you don't share his vexations, of which Holly is one. Some others are ice hockey, Weimaraner dogs, Our Gal Sunday, a soap serial he's listened to for 15 years, and Gilbert and Sullivan. He claims to be related to one or the other. I can't remember which. And so, when late last Tuesday afternoon the telephone rang and I heard, "Joe Bell here," I knew it must be about Holly. He didn't say so, just, "Can you rattle right over here? It's important." And there was a croak of excitement in his froggy voice. I took a taxi in a downpour of October rain, and on my way I even thought she might be there, that I would see Holly again. But there was no one on the premises except the proprietor. Joe Bell's is a quiet place compared to most Lexington Avenue bars. It boasts neither neon nor television. 2 old mirrors reflect the weather from the streets, and behind the bar, in a niche surrounded by photographs of ice hockey stars, there was always a large bowl of fresh flowers that Joe Bell himself arranges with matronly care. That is what he was doing when I came in. "Naturally," he said, rooting a gladiola deep into the bowl, "naturally I wouldn't have got you over here if it wasn't I wanted your opinion. It's peculiar. A very peculiar thing has happened." "You heard from Holly?" He fingered a leaf as though uncertain of how to answer. A small man with a fine head of coarse white hair. He has a bony, sloping face better suited to someone far taller. His complexion seems permanently sunburned. Now it grew even redder. "I can't say exactly heard from her. I mean, I don't know. That's why I want your opinion. Let me build you a drink. Something new. They call it a white angel," he said, mixing 1/2 vodka, 1/2 gin, no vermouth. While I drank the result, Joe Bell stood up, sucking on a Tums, and turned over in his mind what he had to tell me. Then, "You recall a certain Mr. I.Y. Yunioshi, a gentleman from Japan?" "From California," I said, recalling Mr. Yunioshi perfectly. "He's a photographer on one of the picture magazines, and when I knew him, he lived in the studio apartment on the top floor of the brownstone." "Don't go mixing me up. All I'm asking, you know who I mean." "Okay, so last night who comes waltzing in but this self-same Mr. I.Y. Yunioshi?" I haven't seen him, I guess it's over 2 years. And where do you think he's been these 2 years? Africa. Joe Bell stopped crunching on his Tums. His eyes narrowed. So how did you know? Read it in Winchell, which I had, as a matter of fact. He rang open his cash register and produced a manila envelope. Well, see, did you read this in Winchell? In the envelope, there were 3 photographs, more or less the same, taken from different angles. A tall, delicate Negro man wearing a calico skirt, with a shy yet vain smile, displaying in his hands an odd wood sculpture, an elongated carving of a head, a girl's, her hair sleek and short as a young man's, her smooth wood eyes too large and tilted in the tapering face, her mouth wide, overdrawn, not unlike clown lips. On a glance, it resembled most primitive carving, and then it didn't, for here was the spit image of Holly Golightly, at least as much of a likeness as a dark, still thing could be. And you'll want to read on if you haven't read it. Yeah, that's the thing with an excerpt. Now you want to go to the store and get this little gem. Yes. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for sharing. Very well done. And we'll hopefully see you back. What month is this? In August, our usual spot. And thank you to Longevity John and the crew for all their hard work and for not booking us at 4 p.m. every Tuesday. Thank you all. We'll see you soon. Come back. Oh, wait. Shade's here. Shade, what about spoken lyrics that you have written? Have you ever tried that? To recite a song? Would you like to try it? It's a bit odd, but it's kind of revealing. Yeah, it is a bit tricky, but you could do it. Well, yeah, okay. We'll hold you to that. We will. Okay, last Tuesday. All right. Good. Thank you all. See you soon.